Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, it's really hard to believe the left is copium. It's really hard to believe that in the current environment that we're experiencing, where we're seeing leftist countries like Sweden move to the right for the first time since 1945, or the absolutely astonishing right-wing coalition that we're seeing in Italy, which just bucked the trend and formed a majority government, or the rise of Pierre Poilievre in Canada, who's currently leading the Canadian Conservative Party to massive margins of victory in the polling data against left-wing globalist Justin Trudeau. It's hard to believe that in this environment, Democrats are positioned for victory, or at the very least are on track to buck the historic trend and somehow save Joe Biden from midterm losses in his first term. Not gonna happen. My personal belief is, I don't think Democrats realize how bad it really is for them. The polls are telling you one thing, but of course these days we all know exactly what to do with these polls. We throw them in the trash bin and light the damn trash bin on fire and kick it down the road. The polls are saying one thing and it has the Democrats singing a sweet tune of victory, what I believe to be preemptive victory, but the trends are telling something completely different. And this trend right here is something that leftoids are just refusing to accept. There is currently an exodus that is happening, an exodus of the Democrat Party. We're talking about young voters, women voters, suburban voters, Hispanic voters, black voters, Asian American voters, every demographic voter that you could possibly think. And then even beyond that, it's not just voters. We're continuing to see Democrat elected officials either switch parties and join the Republicans, or they're staying Democrats, but they're endorsing Republican candidates for victory. We've covered countless examples of this over the years. Well, folks, astonishingly, it continues. It continues to happen, and it's a major factor that Democrats are currently avoiding. The fact that they're shedding support, shedding voters, and it's going to have a massive impact come election day that currently isn't seen in the polling data. I got a bunch of examples of this exact phenomenon today, and then of course we'll lead into elections and we'll talk about the implications. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so it continues to happen. We continue to see these examples. 34-year Democrat goes rogue, abandons party after realizing just how bad things have gotten. Pennsylvania mother who had been registered Democrat for over 30 years has abandoned the party and signed on with the Republicans, and she is far from alone. On Fox and Friends First, Beth Ann Rosica shared why she left the Democrats after being loyal to the party for 34 years. Her words are likely the same as more than 39,000 other former Democrats in Pennsylvania who have switched party affiliation in the months leading up to the 2022 election. Rosica cited the economic situation, but also emphasized what has happened to children during and since the COVID-19 outbreak. Just take a look at what she had to say.
Well, I think that a big part of this trend is related to what has happened in Pennsylvania over the last 2.5 years. We suffered greatly in Pennsylvania under Governor Wolf and his very poor pandemic policies, closing schools, closing businesses. It's been a very tough 2.5 years for many, many families in Pennsylvania.
So you think that the core of this issue, with more Republicans switching to the GOP than more Democrats switching to the Republican Party than reverse, is the economy?
I think the economy is huge. And what I saw through the pandemic was that the Democratic Party basically abandoned all of those people. And so that was why I left the party, or as I like to say, the party really left me. Yeah, and I think that a lot more people are really starting to see that. Pennsylvania is very much of a mixed state. So we have, the eastern part of the state, the southeastern part of the state is much more liberal, much more progressive outside of Philadelphia. But the rest of Pennsylvania tends to be more conservative, or at least much more moderate. And so there are people across the board who are very, very focused on the economy. And as you said, bringing back natural resources back to Pennsylvania to tap into that pipe.
And so this is what I mean when I say leftoids are coping. Folks, this is not a small phenomenon. It's not a small thing that's happening. Democrats want to have you believe that women are showing up to vote and their number one issue is abortion. No, that is complete bogus. The number one issue for everyone across demographics is the economy and the current affordability crisis. And anyone who says otherwise is either misinformed or lying. And this particular voter is a microcosm of the trend. A 34-year registered Democrat. We're talking about a lifetime Democrat. A loyal, vote blue no matter who Democrat is now telling you that she has switched parties in the state of Pennsylvania and plans to vote for Republicans. That's not a small thing. That's huge. And that's probably happening with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of suburban mothers. A lot of people don't seem to understand this. You know, we talk a whole lot about the black vote and the Hispanic vote, but the most important voting demographic is the suburban mother. You know, it's kind of like the marketing world. It caters to women because women make consumer choices. Well, within electoral politics, it's a little bit different but somewhat similar. The woman of the house is the most important vote to get. In fact, the woman of the house is the exact voting demographic that hands Democrats their cultural power and has handed them every single major election victory over the years. Democrats, liberals across Western democracies win the female vote. They're going to win the single moms, the feminist type vote, and they get a significant portion of suburban moms. When conservatives win is when they tap into that vote. Conservatives win with men every single election cycle. When conservatives lose is when suburban mothers defect from the party. Well, now we're seeing that exact phenomenon, but with Democrats. It's not a small thing. It's like I've said previously. Democrats want to pretend as if the last 2 years is old history and everyone's forgotten. But people still have an extremely sour taste in their mouth for the abuse of emergency powers that we saw from Democrats. It's going to have an effect, and that's why we're all of a sudden seeing reports like this. Underreported data suggests victory for GOP in Pennsylvania suburbs. We're not going to go through the whole thing because we've spoken about this at length, but the point is, compare what I'm about to read you from this report and what I've been saying for months. In late September, ABC News/Washington Post released a national survey to little fanfare, as its findings underscore what we already know. The economy and inflation are the top priorities of likely voters in this midterm election. No other issue comes close. In fact, education and schools tops abortion by 15 points, an issue that, by the way, favors Republicans. However, buried in the poll was an astounding finding as it relates to competitive congressional districts, which are typically found in suburban and ex-urban communities. By a 21-point margin, the survey found that suburban and ex-urban congressional districts favor Republican candidates. I don't need to say another word. What this is essentially telling you is what I have been saying. Suburban moms are pissed, and they're not going back to the Democrat Party. We've seen a nationwide voter registration gain for Republicans of over 2 million voters, net, while Democrats in many important states have lost voters. Pennsylvania is one of those states, and now you mean to tell me that John Fetterwoman is going to beat Dr. Oz? He's going to win suburban moms with his incredible directed campaigning towards women by calling himself John Fetterwoman and printing a t-shirt.
My name is John Fetterwoman.
Not going to happen. I just refuse to believe it. The data is telling me something different, but most importantly, voter sentiment and particular voter demographics and likely voters are telling me all that I need to know. The shift from Democrat to Republican is clear, and it's a wide-ranging phenomenon. We also have a Florida Democrat County Commissioner proudly endorsing Ron DeSantis. Quote, he's done an incredible job.
Have I got this right? You're endorsing a Republican, DeSantis, and campaigning for him every day until Election Day. What's so bad about Charlie Crist and the Democrats?
Good morning, and thank you for having me on the show. And yes, I have endorsed Governor Ron DeSantis. I do so proudly, and I am very much committed to campaigning every day, as you highlighted, and making sure that Governor DeSantis gets across the finish line with a big win.
We have a retired Border Patrol agent now leaving the Democratic Party over the crisis at the southern border. We have this update. Trend continued but slowed in August of more Democrats switching to GOP in Nevada. Thousands of Western Pennsylvania Democrats are leaving for the Republican Party. No one seems sure why. Oh, of course. I mean, it's a total mystery now, isn't it? But you guys see the trend here. It's going to show up come Election Day. It's possibly not showing up to the extent that it should be in polling data because they're not exactly accounting for it. But speaking of counting, the actual count on election day, well, my prediction, it's going to be shocking for people who are not paying attention or to Democrats that are coping. The 34-year loyal Democrat suburban voter that I showed you guys earlier, as I stated, is a microcosm, is one example of a much greater trend that's going to show up on election day. At least, that's my take. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section, and of course, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I'm gonna get back to work, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.